I don't know why I stress also.
Yeah,
Okay.
stress.
I don't stress. I don't know why. So we have Beng here today. Beng is one of my oldest friends, right? We've known each other since we were what, 14, 15.
Yep.
That was, I think, middle school, secondary school in Singapore. And among my group of friends, he has one of the more, I would say, interesting professional journey so far in his career, which is why I think we were quite lucky to have him here today to just share, some of the interesting stories. I think especially his background in consulting, in tech mainly, in his reasonably long career so far, and in his short but fruitful career so far. So I think Beng, if I'm not mistaken, I think he has liked watches since when we first started working just outside of school, or maybe just before we finished school.
Liked it before I could afford it.
For all of us who don't know, clearly I know your story quite well. How would you say your upbringing was like, where you went to school, and how that sort of ushered you into your professional career?
I was brought up in a middle class household, went to public schools. That's why I met Alvin. Pretty standard, as a Singaporean, you kind of be brought up to, I guess, become a doctor, become a banker, become a lawyer.
Right.
Because my parents weren't very educated, and that's all they knew, right? Like that's where you make money, and that's where you make money to, I guess, buy the watches. But yeah, so that's why I picked like banking and finance in like college.
Right. Which most of us did, to be honest. Yeah.
Which most of us did, aspiring bankers, because I guess they pay well. I guess it's ultra competitive, right? So I didn't manage to land like some like bulge bracket bank, big time job at the Wall Street of Singapore, right? But I managed to secure like a small boutique consulting firm. That was where I started my career. I was consulting for financial services.
Right.
I did that for 2 years, but it was very interesting. I got to travel quite a bit. I was in Hong Kong, I did projects in Australia. They were a Swiss firm, so I was in Switzerland quite a bit. After that, I think that was like kind of like a turning point in my career, because back then I think tech was kind of new. Tech wasn't really an industry yet. Tech was kind of like for, I guess, like boring guys, back office, nerds, geeks, coding.
Clearly not the case now. Yeah.
Clearly not the case now, but I think I took the risk, and then I joined this company called Rocket Internet early on. Rocket Internet is like a German incubator from Europe.
Yeah.
What they do is take a lot of ideas from the developed world. They bring them to emerging markets. So they saw a lot of, for example, Amazon in the US. A lot of these, I guess, e-com business models weren't anywhere in Southeast Asia, in our part of the world yet.
This was in the early 2010s, right?
2014.
Yeah, 2014. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so 2014, and so there wasn't much talent. So what you could only hire from like bankers and consultants. So they see that's what they did. They hired a whole bunch of consultants, a whole bunch of bankers, and then, hey, you don't know how to start an e-com business, but like this is how it's done in the States or like in Europe. Right? So like, hey, here's the playbook. Here are some like a starter kit for tech, right?
Yes.
Take this and start a company. So I went and I joined this company called Lazada early on. Lazada is like the Amazon of Southeast Asia.
Yes,
right?
that's right.
And then Alibaba was just starting up. They weren't the global company they are today.
Yes.
Right? They were very China-based. They're still fighting out with Amazon in China.
Yep.
So I joined Lazada. I joined them to incorporate strategy, build out e-commerce across Southeast Asia. And then one day we kind of sat down in Corpstrat, and then we were wondering like, hey, like what does it take to, I guess, become like an e-com company, right?
Right.
And then we were like, this thing about payments.
Yes.
Because if you look at like Amazon, they have like Amazon One Click. Look at Alibaba, they have like Alipay. We hatched this plan to start this thing called HelloPay, which is really the payment arm of Lazada. And then there were a bunch of like really, really senior consultants.
Right.
So they all became like CEOs, COOs, or whatever MD titles. And then because I was the most inexperienced, youngest guy, and then they were like, okay, you're doing customer service. So I didn't think that 2.5 years after college, I will be trying to set up call centers in the Philippines.
Right.
But that's where I get started out. I moved to the Philippines for a while, trying to figure out like this thing about setting up call centers. It's like when you call in to cancel your credit card, like you want a refund, you want all this, like, you want to find out what's wrong with your transaction.
Right.
Yes, it's a bunch of like customer service people picking up the phone, answering. But then there's a whole science and business model behind like setting up a customer service. One thing led to another. I built out the whole team. We were more like 20 people across the region by then. I started leading operations across Southeast Asia for Lazada Payments. Then I got my big break, moved to Malaysia to kind of head up the country. get it started commercially, hiring the early team. And yeah, suddenly payments became like the in thing. And then suddenly there was payments, and then suddenly there was this new term called FinTech.
Yes.
And then like yeah, the world went crazy for FinTech, right?
Right.
But it's a very old thing that existed. You know, Visa, MasterCard, payments companies been around for longest time.
Right.
But it's just not sexy.
Yep.
And then I think in the course of like 3 years, it just became the in thing to do.
Exactly. And I guess that's sort of because that move to payments itself, the stage of a career sort of progressed in payments, I would say, after that as well. And then I know you jumped to a few very famous companies, if I remember correctly. Do you want to share that with us?
Yeah, I moved on. So after that, we sold the company to Alibaba, and then that's how I joined Ant Financial or Alipay.
Right.
I moved to China for a bit. They sent me to Vietnam to kind of launch the Alipay business there.
Right.
And after that, I left. I joined Grab Taxi. It was a ride-hailing company in Southeast Asia. They were still fighting out with Uber for like kind of like dominance in this region, and they wanted to start a wallet company because
Yes.
it's kind of like the in thing, right? Like Alipay was a wallet. Today, GrabPay is the #1 wallet, I guess, digital wallet in Southeast Asia. Then I left. Went back to China. I spent about the last 2.5 years in China at Tencent.
Right.
In the global fintech team, we're building a lot of very interesting stuff across the world with our portfolio companies.
Right.
And yeah, last year I decided to move back to Singapore to start my own company.
Right.
So yeah, that's what I've been doing.
Among our group of friends who've known each other for a long time, I think Beng has quite a significant amount of international experience, especially within the Southeast Asia and maybe in more recent years, Hong Kong and then southern China as well. And I think all that experience culminated into, I guess, his foray into his own venture. Basically, Beng co-founded a very cool company called Arrow. So maybe you just want to tell us a bit about Arrow.
Yeah,
Don't be shy.
Arrow is an early stage fintech company. We focus on payments, but something very specific. We want to make shopping online like very easy, like too easy,
Almost,
right? In a way, encouraging like impulse buys. People don't think too much when they buy something online, because like the thing is, online sellers, they have one of the biggest pain points is what we call like drop-offs. Right?
Yes.
You want to buy something, you mess around the e-com website, you think too much, you try to look for promo codes, and then eventually you decide not to buy. So people drop off, they don't buy, or cart abandonment. Right?
Right.
And I mean, studies have shown it's about like 75%
Of all transactions.
Of all transactions online, people don't end up not buying it.
Okay.
For whatever reasons, right? And then we think as Southeast Asia becomes more digitalized, more people start shopping online, this pain point will be more real for a lot of online sellers, right?
Right.
So we are creating kind of like a checkout service for online sellers to just easily sell their products, right? Whether it's social media, whether it's like an online site, even WhatsApp chats, you can use them. And it's all in one click.
So correct me if I'm wrong. So essentially you're providing a service whereby any online retail merchants can basically onboard your service. I guess they pay a subscription or of sorts. Build your service into their platform.
Yeah.
And sort of that is how your sort of business model
Exactly. So
works.
you just can embed Arrow anywhere, like on the site, in a WhatsApp chat, which is where a lot of commerce is happening, in Instagram DMs.
In an ideal world, whenever we want to buy something, we go to a website. Assuming you're an existing user of Arrow, technically across many merchants, even if it's for the first time, I can go online, I select a product that I'm looking to buy with just 1 or 2 clicks. Because of the Arrow embedment, if you will, Arrow being embedded into the system, they will have my information, I'm able to pay practically instantly.
Yeah, exactly. In one click. That's the whole tagline, right? Like one-click checkouts.
I don't want to embarrass Beng, but Beng has just had a very successful seed round, and as an old friend of his, and as a group of friends that we have, we are all extremely proud of him. And I know he's been working very hard this for the better part of a year now. For those who sort of clicked and navigated yourself to this page, this is the guy. This is the guy to look out for. And hopefully, this inspires people to think of how the new economy works, right? The new digital economy. I think Beng's background is something I envy personally. Into our common shared interests, apart from our professional careers, is watches. I mean, that's why we're here today, right? So, a couple of these pieces that we have laid out before us. Shall we talk about the BlackBerry 58 first?
I guess the DB58 is kind of like my first ever watch purchase. That's kind of significant price tag.
And which year was this, if you don't mind sharing? And was this to commemorate a specific event in your life?
It actually was. Like I decided that I'm getting married, so I thought like other than the suit or the tux that I was getting, I needed a watch to go along with it. And yeah, I really like this watch. Alvin's been talking about the watch forever. So
Well, yeah, just after it was launched, I think in Basel World 2018. I guess we both bought it right around the same time, I believe.
Yeah.
And maybe just a couple months apart.
of course, Alvin had first dibs, right? So I was like, okay, I need to find someone who was trying to resell the watch, but eventually found. And then yeah, I got it from this person.
And I remember on your wedding day, I think you bought it probably several days before your wedding day itself.
Yeah, a week.
A week before?
Yeah, a week.
And I remember both of us somehow, because this was a new watch for me at the time as well, I was involved in Beng's, I guess it's his wedding party. I was one of his groomsmen. And we were both sporting the same watch. And I remember we took a couple of wrist shots together as well.
Yeah.
This Tudor Black Bay, your first proper purchase, would you say, having bought it a week before the wedding, would you say that it had sort of any special, how you remember before you got married?
Yeah, I think it's a very special watch, right? Because I don't know, for me, I'll talk about the other one later, but usually when I buy a watch, there's some meaning to it, there's an occasion. Whenever I look at the watch today, you just like remind yourself of like your wedding, right? Your wife. Yeah. You know, every morning when I get out to work, you put on the ring, right? And then you put on the watch, and you go like, okay, no, you just remind yourself like, hey, look, I have an amazing wife. I met like 10 years ago, and she's still with me. Even though I'm a dick sometimes.
Yeah. Shout out to Yi and Yi if you're watching.
You just remember the good times. Sometimes like I think of the wedding. Sometimes even like then it was very amazing. Right. Sometimes I think about the wrist shots we did as well. Yeah. When we both realized we were wearing the same watch. Yeah. That's what the watches are to me. Sometimes like they kind of trigger a memory. Not just one, but like sometimes at different points they trigger like different memories. But they always go back to that occasion, like the wedding, the marriage. Right. So yeah, it's a special watch, I would say.
You say that you wear this practically every morning. Would you say this is your daily beater?
Yeah, it didn't start like that.
Right. Okay.
When I bought it, I was like, oh, okay, this is not touching anything, right?
Right. You're basically babying the watch.
I'm babying the watch, right? Yeah. I would wipe it every 5 minutes, making sure no oil stains. And then I kind of realized that I actually like the watch a lot. It's a watch that goes well with a lot of I guess outfits, whatever you wear, right? It's a very casual watch. You can also dress it up a little bit sometimes. Yeah. So yeah, I started wearing it, more often, and then soon I just became my daily.
Your daily wear. Yeah. You don't think about it. You just slap it on, right? Slap it on your wrist, and then you go about your day. I
go about my day. Then from people who know watches time, they go like, "Hey, look, hey, dude, is that like a 58?" I'm like, "Yeah," and then it's like kind of
conversation starter.
Yeah, conversation starter.
It is no surprise why Tudor Black Bay 58 is loved by him and many others worldwide, and of course, it's not easy to get them at the Tudor boutique these days. Moving on from the Black Bay 58. Tell us a bit more about the Rolex that you have here.
I mean, the first time I ever saw Rolex was my grandpa. Right. He's a very traditional Chinese man, right? Like when you make money, right, you buy a rock solid gold Rolex Datejust or Day-Date and you wear it. Right. Everywhere, right? It becomes your daily beater. When I was just aware of things, right? Then you could see Akong, which is what we call our grandfathers, right? Grandpas in this part of the world. Like, hey, Akong, what's this? And then he would just say, oh, this is a watch. Right. It's heavy. He would let me wear it when I was a kid. Like, true story. It was I think full gold Datejust. I think 36 as well.
And it's hard to miss.
Hard to miss, right? And he would flick it every now and then, and it just it catches the light and everything. So I was like, okay, that's when I first got my taste of Rolexes. I think he made me try it on when I was a kid as well. It was very, very fun. And then that's kind of like a memory that stuck, right? And then as I grew older, I realized, oh, okay, it's not the most affordable of watches. It's also not easy to, I guess, maintain. It was nice. I thought I would buy it, but then first price range is maybe a little bit out of this world, at least for me back then.
Then how did you decide on this piece then?
Yeah, so in the later part of career before Arrow, I moved to a Chinese company in Hong Kong, Tencent. And then because the company was doing well, employees are also rewarded very well. So it's kind of like the first time in my career that it looked like I think I made a decent amount of money. Right. And then I started to owe my mom something she always wanted. Yeah. And then I was also on my honeymoon. Right. And then I bought my wife this bag which she also always wanted. Right. And then when we came back to Hong Kong,
take note, guys. So basically, parents, wife before looking after himself. So yeah.
I actually saw this at the boutique, and then I started mulling over it. I would go home. I would ask my wife, "Hey, does it make sense if I buy a watch which I might not wear that often. And
Right.
then she was like, maybe not, why would you have two watches?
Oh wow.
Right, why you have two watches? Would you even wear it? It looks the same. It looks like silver. So I was like,
Sorry, yeah, I take it back. No shout outs to you. Okay.
I was like, okay, yeah, why would I spend double the price of? I think it was double the price of the BB58.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yes.
So she's like, yeah, like why is it double? And then I say, oh, there's some gold in there.
Yep. It's steel and white gold. Yes.
But then she was like, then why do you make gold white? if it's gold, you want people to know you're wearing gold, right?
Hashtag stealth wealth, ladies and gentlemen.
That first visit to an AD, you sit down,
Get the whole boutique treatment.
the whole boutique treatment.
Yeah.
So I just went, because my wrist is smaller, right? So
Right.
I could not pull off the 40. And they also had it in the blue dial, which is something I really wanted, right?
Yeah.
And they took it out, I put it on, I really liked it. And then he said, like, why don't you just buy it? Right? So I was like, maybe not, but then do you mind if you hold it for me for like maybe a week? And then because my friend's like a
VIP.
VIP, right? He buys watches for clients. Yeah, they held it for me a week. I spent 1 week
Mulling over this.
right? Like when you buy something for your wife, you don't think. It was like you go into the shop and just like for yourself, and then you have all these like practical questions. In the end, it was my wife was the one who convinced me to get it. She was like, you're doing well. Why don't you just reward yourself, right?
You're making good money.
Yeah.
And you've worked hard clearly. So to commemorate, remember that okay, at this stage in my life, 6 years out of college, I've done pretty well for myself. That was a thought process behind the purchase.
Most probably I'm gonna have this watch gonna outlast me. Right? Most probably.
Most probably.
I only wear it on like special occasions, when we're going out for a nice dinner. And yeah, it reminds me of my time in Hong Kong.
Right.
And that 2.5 years I had there.
I see. Very cool, very cool. So Beng, thank you so much for sharing all these stories with us. This episode itself really encapsulates what Watch Jetting is about. This is a staple that we are looking to do consistently. So thanks, Beng, for taking the time. I wish you absolutely the very best in your professional and personal endeavors.
Thank you.
Thank you, bro.